There once was a man named Bhenji. He woke every day with one thing on his mind, spending his hours and minutes ranking his games. He didn't care whether they were long or short, easy or hard. And so here we sit at the edge of the world with Bhenji's top 100 games. Android Netrunner. Two separate IPs, one brings the world, one brings the mechanics. They both combine to make an asymmetrical card game about hacking and mega corporations. A combination that certainly has potential for failure written all over it. However, instead we got a marvellous achievement in card gaming. The fact that the game remains fun and vital for both sides, whether you're the hacker trying to siphon information off of the corporation's servers, or you're the megacorp themselves trying to fry the runners' brains as they make runs on your servers. There's a reason this has a huge cult following even after its unfortunate recent demise. Not many card games offer you this depth of elegant gameplay and a high level of replayability to boot. It was a sad panda day when this got discontinued, but I'm glad to see the fanbase taking up the mantle and pushing the game forward. Age of War. Rolling dice is inherently satisfying, but rolling dice that you then place and cover symbols found on the dice takes it to the next level of satisfaction. Provide that experience in a travel size box that takes no time to learn and get to the table, then you basically got a winner in my eyes. Set in ancient Japan, you are thematically at least looking to conquer the castles and keeps of other clans from across the land. Mechanically, you're rolling those dice and placing symbols along a battle line, then re-rolling the remaining dice, continuing to do that until you either run out of dice or cover up all the symbols on the card you're going after. Oh, and you'll also get super duper bonus set collection points for completely dominating a particular clan's worth of cards. If you like dice rolling, the odds are heavily stacked in the "you're gonna like this" column. Azul. I didn't want to like this game. It looked boring at a glance, not ugly per se, just kind of meh. I really did try and resist, but it's useless, don't try. Just sit back and enjoy a simple tile laying game and then probably play it again. To be honest, this is not only better than it looks, it's also more enjoyable mechanically than it seems on paper. So each round starts with different coloured tiles on favours arranged in a circle, and you can take all of one type of tile from one of those, or you can take all of one type of tile from the central reservoir, which is populated every time a tile isn't picked from the outside. You then place those tiles looking to fill rows sized between 1 and 5 on your player board, and then once a row is filled you get to place a tile on your wall. I'm actually bored explaining this game. You just have to trust me, this is a bloody good and you'll probably bloody like it. Descent, Journeys in the Dark. Imperial Assault, this man prefers me over you and your newer release date and gigantically popular IP. The main reason for that is although I like a bunch of Star Wars games, I don't love the idea of a sci-fi dungeon crawler over a fantasy one. It's effectively that simple. Same game, more or less. This also has an app to help with bookkeeping and the ability to play fully cooperatively, but it also feels like the lineal successor to Hero Quest, which I think we can all agree on was the reason so many of us love this hobby. The campaign elements are great, allowing you to progress your character, and you're never truly out of the game, win or lose in a scenario. Mechanically it's a good system as well, and the modular board keeps things nice and fresh. I'm pretty sure all those years later this remains my go-to conventional dungeon crawler. Star Trek Frontiers. It's probably not giving much away to say there are more games on this list with the Star Wars IP than there is Star Trek, which really is quite upsetting because I've been a card carrying Trekkie for most of my life. However, there are a handful of great Trek games out there and this is one of them. A reskin of Mage Knight set in space might seem an odd switch of theme, but it works really well. The scenarios, be they cooperative, semi-cooperative or competitive, all deliver on some meaningful exploration, advancement and strategy. There's a lot of different things that can happen in a game of Star Trek Frontiers. and whilst it's not necessarily a sandbox game, it's extremely rich in gameplay depth, as you can take on more crew, become more experienced as a captain, and encounter all sorts of drama and quote unquote villains. Not much more to say, other than this is a terrific game played both solo or multiplayer. Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth, or Jimmy as his mates would say, is a successor of sorts to FFG's previous dungeon crawlers, except it's not really a dungeon crawler. It's a scenario based, this time app required, adventure and exploration game, where conflict is resolved through cards not dice. FFG have certainly learnt a lot in their forays to modular exploration games like this, and it's culminated in just a wonderful all-round gameplay experience. Characters' abilities and progressions work really well, the encounters are a great deal of fun, and the story is top drawer as well. Whilst the game doesn't work without the app, it's used more as a means to speed things up than it is to take over the gameplay, and that sort of app integration I can just about live with, and begrudgingly appreciate. This is one of the few games on my list I don't actually have a copy of, which prohibits it getting to the table more, so who knows where this will end up when it inevitably enters my collection. Star Wars Outer Rim. It's like Star Wars was upset that a Star Trek game might end up in this segment and not one of its kind. Alas, that wasn't meant to be. This is first and foremost for me a storytelling game, where you get to interact with a bunch, and I mean a bunch of characters from Star Wars canon. And you do it controlling one of a selection of, let's be kind, scoundrels. So second and foremost, this is all a point-to-point movement, pick up and deliver, and combat resolution game, which can be played both solo and multiplayer. Because I treat this as a storytelling game, and an absolutely stellar one at that, I'm happy to overlook its somewhat basic and uninspiring dice rolling mechanics. Otherwise this would have been a lot lower down my list. As it is, I find this a great game to delve into, and I'm always looking forward to how my character will interact and develop throughout their quest for fame. Game of Thrones, the card game. It's just occurred to me how many FFG games are in this portion of my top 100. Free advertising, FFG, throw us a bone. Of course, this is a completely unbiased list. A good game is a good game, and this is a great one. Its main virtue as a 1v1 card game is the 3 different types of conflict resolution you can undertake. Testing each side's might and power, intrigue and backstabbery, or political acumen. And winning each type of challenge also reaps different rewards, and you can generally only use each of your characters and allies in one type of challenge each go. This makes the game such a strategical delight, because you should never overextend too far, lest you get throttled and overpowered on the backswing. That winning back and forth is complemented by multiple different factions to play from, plot cards that set out initiative, special rules and the amount of resources you'll have each turn, and much more. Bang! The dice game. Can you really trust games with exclamation marks? Whilst pondering such things is a complete waste of time, what's not is the big playgroup entertainment this dice rolling game provides. You each secretly have a role, one of outlaw, renegade or the sheriff, and their deputy. Each of you having varying conditions to win, but basically it's a game of last group standing. And despite the unbalanced nature of each role, the fact that they're secret, but the game allows for a little bit of deduction as well, just makes for a game that scratches in all the right places. The dice rolling is super easy. You're generally dealing damage to another player 1 or 2 spaces to your left or right, or healing them or yourself too. But the characters you inhabit also have their own special abilities that add some real flavour and randomness to each playthrough. This is a game that's best with as many players as you can muster, up to 8, but it's still a great party game no matter what your audience. Camel Up. Gambling. It can destroy people's lives. It can bring almighty highs and harrowing lows. Whoa, tone it down, Binge. This is supposed to be a light-hearted list about ball games. To be fair, this is about as wholesome entertainment as you're going to find on this list. A good old-fashioned racing game, where camels not only get a trot on, but also dish out piggybacks. The worst part being that this lazy bugger on top is somewhere ahead in the event of a photo finish. Absolutely bizarre animal behaviour aside, you've got a great little tension-filled racing game in front of you when this is at the table. You're always placing bets on the winners and losers of a round, and finally the race. And it's the final positions that are much harder to predict than you would think, thanks to the camel ladders that will always be somewhere in the race. Just a really enjoyable family type game. I do hope you've enjoyed my choices so far. Stay tuned for the next 10 games on my list. This video has